we might as well believe in flying elephants, because this is never going to happen. The principle of compensation for farmers is impractical. The amount of money is just not enough. Brazil has offered $12 a year per acre for compensation for the farmers. However, we know that land is $1,300 per acre. And using simple maths, it would take 108 years to get back your investments. The second rebuttal is that there is no political will. The government has stated that the people want to people will not want to cut down trees. But this is in fact not correct, because Brazil law allows for clearing of land, and this is because they believe that it is effective use of land for farming and it's beginning of land ownership. My third rebuttal is that my third rebuttal is that the opposition has stated that it's the locals' problem. They're cutting down the trees, but really it's not. It's the major big corporations that are cutting down these trees, and these locals are only part of it.
Move on.
Moving on to my stance. Now, we believe that the reduction of deforestation from the supply side is impossible, and therefore tackling it from the demand side is the way to go. Team Split today, I will be talking about the model and the superiority of demand side solution to a supply side solution. My second speaker will be talking about the principal compensation at supply side is flawed, because given the fact that nature of global warming crisis and other initiatives to provide technology solution is not a strong moral obligation, especially in the current global climate. Moving on to my model, we will be using the case study of the Regulate McDonald's model. We see this problem as a McDonald's argument model. McDonald's is the largest purchaser in the world, gaining $40 million each day. And these sources of beef come from cows that derive from the deforested areas, and their soybeans from Brazil, and these soybeans are used to feed their chickens all over the world. And they are responsible for 70,000 square kilometers each year. McDonald's continues to grow each year because they invest in cheaper ways to gain their things. They, instead of buying fertilizer and growing their own trees, they do deforestation. And their demands are, the first demand is that the international level, their pressure on the end purchasers, McDonald's. The second demand is that the United Nations will demand full chain of custody for all forest products to ensure that they come from legal sources outside the Amazon rainforest. The third argument is that the encouragement of purchasers to work with suppliers to develop responsible and alternative supplies. Now, we understand the issue of corruption, believing that the strong political will would ensure extremely strong checks and balances, i.e. internal and external auditing, internal certifications, strengthened judicial and political processes, all will because of the internal support. Moving on to my first argument, the superiority of a demand-side solution to a supply-side solution. The analysis. The first analysis is that, like I said before in the rebuttal, the financial ability to do this. Where can the compensation come from? Norway has agreed to give $1 billion a year.
On that
and
point,
how far will this $1 billion go? We know that, I stated before, that we know that $1,300 is the cost for land per acre. And this is assuming without corruption and administration. But with this $1 billion and 1,300, that makes about 1,700 square miles. Is this a big number? It's really not, because the rate of deforestation per year is 9,500 square kilometers. And how much would be prevented per year if this was the amount?
Before we move on.
The $1 billion would only last about 2.5 months. Now, according to the entire Copenhagen Accord Fund, which was introduced in 2009, for the Climate Reduction Summit in Article 8. They state that from 2010 to 2012, they would actually only use half of it in exactly 3 years. This, they're blowing about half of their budget already, and this is only assuming in one area of the world in deforestation. There are also other areas like the Sub-Sahara, Congo, Niger Delta, and the northern China. And if we were to reduce it and prevent it, this would be fantastic, but assuming, again, that there is no
Before you move
corruption
on.
and administration, and this doesn't account for reforestation, and we're absolutely not noting terms on funds for other areas like flooding in Bangladesh and massive human tragedies. The supply side is not viable, and globally or locally.
On that
The
point,
second analysis is that McDonald's is a dividend, and it has been payments have been increasing the dividends 25 years. Their revenue is $23 billion a year, and they would be the only company that would be affected by our model. Because McDonald's already has one of the world's most supplied chains, it relies on franchise models, and these supply chains are already used to track origin of every supplied product. Third analysis is that the close relationship between McDonald's and their suppliers, for example, Cargill, in developing countries is obviously the Greenpeace would set up monitoring and certification citizens that can prove or place of origin, even be made to pay for external auditing. Fourth rebuttal is that addition costs will be passed on to consumers, causing them to eat less fatty foods, which will lengthen their lives. Even though this will create more CO2, we would be creating less fatty Americans, which we believe to be a help to our humanity. Joking aside, point here is that our mechanism passes costs onto corporate and consumers in developed countries. They're able to cope with this because of the international donor community. Fifth analysis is that McDonald's demonstrates demand sides, they're viable and effective. Their standards are good to the market. So, in conclusion, let's face it, ladies and gentlemen, the first fast food restaurant that announces its burgers are rainforest friendly will have a competitive edge in terms of brand awareness, public relations, and goodwill from both people and governments. Thank you.
The speaker spoke for 7